Yes, 2-5 is here. Sports reports is ordered. Do me a favor out there, like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. And yo, we're going to be coming at you later tonight with some Western Conference preview. Some NFL and college football reaction, putting everything to bed. But for now, I wanted to talk to you about a few things that was on my mind. So first, before the season started, during the season, after the season, Mr. Logical and I always go down the list of head coaches and see who we think is going to be fired. Now, I thought that first head coach that was going to get fired was Doug Peterson, down in Jacksonville. The 0-4 start made me feel comfortable with that. Then, of course, they got their first win the other day. But nonetheless, I think he doesn't make it through the season. But New York said, hold my beer. Robert Saleh gone after 5 games of the season. When Aaron Rodgers has been ineffective, when Aaron Rodgers is recovering from injury, when Aaron Rodgers brought in Nathaniel Hackett, when Aaron Rodgers brought in Alan Lazard, right? He got everything that he wanted. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and paint the picture that Mo Salah is this great. Oh, I'm sorry. I always get him mixed up with the Liverpool player, Robert Saleh. I'm not going to sit up here and act like he was a great coach, like he was Bill Walsh reincarnated in the flesh, right? I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is say that as a defensive head coach, you look at somebody like Matt Eberflus over in Chicago who couldn't get his defense to play good until they made a bunch of moves in year 3 for him last year. And now their defense looks very stout this year. The one thing that the Jets always could do is play defense, right? So Robert Saleh, 20-36 career record with the Jets. He came over from San Francisco where he led their defenses. He went 4-13 his first year and then back-to-back 7-10 the last 2 years. Now, the context to that is that's a whole lot of Zach Wilson. That's a whole lot of Mike White, some Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle even. So from that standpoint, we always talk about quarterbacks and how they need an organization to succeed. And that's why you see players like Sam Darnold, ironically enough, from the Jets, now in Minnesota looking like a viable quarterback. Now, you take a defensive head coach and you don't give him a quarterback, and I know the easy thing to say is conservative style of ball, like the defense is going to carry the day, offense just don't jack it up. But how you going to do that with Zach Wilson, right? Now, his teams have come out unprepared, lackluster, falling behind over the years. But he also beat Buffalo in the game that Aaron Rodgers got hurt last year on the 4th snap. Beat Buffalo outside of that with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Had the Jets in the playoff race last year. So we start this season, Aaron Rodgers coming back. You give it a few weeks. He still looks like crap. He threw 2 ugly, bad picks against Minnesota the other day to lose that game over in London. So apparently Woody Johnson, the owner, went to talk to Aaron Rodgers yesterday. Allegedly, Robert Saleh didn't come up. Okay. And then he's fired this morning. Didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to his players. Got escorted out the building by security, which I remind you did not happen to Adam Gase. What's next for Robert Saleh? I mean, if it were up to me, I'd like to place him in Cincinnati because I don't know what the hell the Bengals are doing, but it's not called defense. Jeff Ulbrich steps in as the interim head coach, which doesn't make sense to me because he was the defensive coordinator. So I get it from the standpoint of let's put the guy in charge of the side of the ball that's stable in charge of the team. But Robert Saleh is a defensive guy too, so that doesn't make – you know why you got to do that? Because you let Aaron Rodgers bring in Nathaniel Hackett as your offensive coordinator. And allegedly, that was part of the reason that Robert Saleh got fired was because he was going to be demoting or firing Nathaniel Hackett. Remember him? The same guy who needed another coach to help him coach in Denver. He needed a coach advisor on the sideline to tell him when to use timeouts and things like that. But that's who Aaron Rodgers wanted. And you're paying Aaron Rodgers too much money to get rid of him. even though you would like to push him out the door after this season, I would think. So Ulbrich came in, coaching defense at UCLA, special teams and linebackers, went to the Atlanta Falcons, 5 years there, including the Super Bowl run. And then, of course, at the Jets for the last 3 years. The Jets, for lack of better words, are dysfunction. So it doesn't matter who the head coach was. Now, everybody's going to go out here and talk about Bill Belichick and how you need to bring the disciplinarian back home. You need to bring the disciplinarian, to right the ship. No, what you need to do is come up with game plans that effectively use the players and talent that you have. There's no reason for Braylon Allen and Breece Hall to be this bad so far this season. This is on paper probably I'd say somewhere between the third and sixth best backfield combination. And I mean, if you're going off of both players, I mean, they might be closer to number one than we think, but the Jets are 2 plays away from being 4-1 as well. They should have beat Denver. You lost to them 10-9 in the rain. And when you're Robert Saleh as the head coach, you get the blame for that. But at the same time, I go, hey, my defense put up or let up 9 points or 10 points. What about your homie over here, Aaron Rodgers? What about the crew that he brought through? What did they do? They scored 9 points. This is supposed to be a top 5 quarterback all time. Where? So I'm not even making the argument that Robert Saleh should step into next season as the Jets head coach. He should just still be the Jets head coach today. So on top of that, we got news from Yahoo Sports, Ross Dellinger, great job he does over there, about a new Super League. So if you've been following Sports Reports as Ordered, if you've been following 2-5 Daily, you've heard me talk about how college football is creeping closer and closer to the NFL, AFC, NFC. And in my scenario, it's the Big Ten and SEC booting everybody. And oh, by the way, the Big Ten and SEC are meeting this week to go over some things. So allegedly, these are former Disney executives that have come up with this. Jack Swarbrick, you remember him as the athletic director at Notre Dame at once upon a time. Allegedly, he has a role in this as well, where the idea of this, it's called Project Rudy. Go figure, right? Notre Dame, fight, yeah, whatever. Anyway, 3 tiers is how this is supposed to be structured based off of performance and revenue. So you know what that means? My favorite word, relegation. So your tiers are 1 tier of 16 teams, a tier 2 of 22 teams, and then a tier 3 of 32 teams that'll interchange based on performance year to year. I like the sound of that. Problem is that when fans are upset that I've seen so far, why are we talking about this? I've heard other pundits talking about why are we doing this? And the problem is that y'all let money become the be-all, end-all. It's the same reason that Tennessee is adding these fees to their tickets next year, because money, you guys are willing to pay the money. Half of this conference realignment stuff shouldn't even have went down. But now that we look at this, if I'm Alabama, for example, or Georgia, I'm saying, why the hell is South Carolina and Mississippi State making as much as I do? You take it to the Big Ten. If I'm Ohio State and Michigan, why are Northwestern and Purdue making what I'm making? And you could do that all through the rest, Florida State and Clemson. You already know about the ACC. So, this plan has already been briefed to Charlie Baker. So it has a little more validity than other plans that we've talked about in the past. But this is what I want to remind the decision makers of. College football is college football. College football is the greatest sport in the world. College football is not the NFL. They are separated for a reason. They exist separately for a reason. The NFL is all about this, hey, every week schedule, professional against professional. This is college sports where you do have these G5 programs like Boise State, like Tulane, like Memphis, so on and so forth, that deserve to play against these guys. This provides an avenue for their players to make the NFL. This provides a layer of capital that allows them to continue their sports at their schools. That's why all of this exists the way that it does currently. So now you're talking about tearing away the fabric of the sport to turn it into a league that a lot of college fans don't even want to be associated with. College football fans are here for college football, not for the NFL. So you could take your Super League for now, put it on pause, even though I do like the relegation point. So, yo, join me tonight. Like I said, Mr. Logical and I coming to you shortly. We're going to be talking about the college football weekend. We're going to talk about the NFL weekend. And then, of course, we're going to get into our Western Conference preview. If you missed our Eastern Conference preview, check it out on our YouTube page. We are everywhere that you get your podcasts. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, all the good things. Remember that. 2-5 out. Peace.